Let's pull up a comment by CodeStrap. Hey guys, the most interesting part for me was Cart pointing out the importance of AI in modern warfare and how far ahead they are in this context. Not sure the market has figured this out. Chris, you spoke about this a little bit. You want to just give another couple sentences on how far you think Palantir really is in the modern warfare context?
Yeah, I mean, they've been working with the military forever, so they understand all the challenges that the warfighter on the ground, the operations officer on, sitting in all parts of the world, they understand what the core problems are, and they develop products around it. It's just the adoption curve in the military is it's difficult, right? You have a lot of incumbent players that always sell shit to the government all the time. And they're always going to try to sell stuff. So there's a lot of incumbent players. Palantir kicked the door open. They had doors slammed in their face, and they had to go and sue the government, and they kicked open the door, and now they're through the door and they're selling these products out there to the government side. And I think the Ukraine thing was definitely a big boost to them, because it's really hard to tell people you have the next greatest thing without demoing it, especially if the client is not willing to give you the opportunity to demo it. Well, guess what? Now you have an active war where you're able to show off the capabilities that you've been promising. So I think, and not only that, but you're proving effectiveness on the battlefield, which is very hard to do, right? So I think this is one of those things that's also going to carry Palantir forward. And I do, however, think that they would do much better if they separated the government and commercial sides up. I don't think I'll ever get to the point where I'll believe that both of those sides can work congruently together without having a lot of
friction.
Well, I wouldn't call it friction. I would just say cross bleeding of different things, like mission creep. That's what it's called. So I think if they were two separate companies, they could focus really heavily on one specific thing that they want to do and target. Yeah. And the other side can focus on nothing but commercial and do that. I mean, it's fine the way that they have it right now. It's just in terms of even like displaying, like, how do you value this company, right? Do you value it like a military contractor, or do you value it like a high growth SaaS company?
And that's the beauty of this, because what if it's both? I mean, how do you put the multiples on it? I think it's such an interesting question. I also, my response to CodeStrap's kind of question about operational AI with Palantir is, I have truly never really cared about defense and defense contractors and the military and stuff like that. I never joined the military. I don't have a military background like Chris. So for me, it was one of those things, like many, many Americans, that takes your freedoms for granted. And quite literally becoming a Palantir investor has showed me, oh shit, this is not a joke. Like if you don't have protection, another country will invade your ass, and they will cause millions of deaths. Like this is a real thing. And I think a lot of us, we forget about the fact that the United States is one of the most freest countries in the world because we have this type of protection. So when you think about Palantir actually having this relationship, as you mentioned, Chris, with the US Gov, actually implementing their products to protect soldiers on the front line, and now you've got this revolution of AI that, yes, can give you answers really quickly on a little query, but can also be the actual difference between life or death at hyperscale, because we know China's and Russia's working on their own AI stuff. That matters. Now, what's the valuation on that? We don't know, but that matters.
How much you want to bet Palantir is the one that they probably use Palantir to spot that balloon and all the other balloons coming across, where they didn't necessarily do a lot more spotting before. Now, all of a sudden, their AI models are like tracking all of the U.S. airspace right now for any balloons that are coming or going or whatever. And I bet
thought Carp was going to mention the balloons a little bit, but he didn't.
He did. But he said the balloons. He's like, oh, whether it's this, I'm telling you, it's the Meta constellation probably picked up the balloon. They monitored it, saying, oh, you know what, here it goes. And now they'll probably double down. I mean, that one of the contracts that Palantir has is for debris tracking with the Air Force and with the Space Force. So you can see that, Palantir is slowly embedding themselves into like the defense industry. What's good about the defense industry is that you get nice, consistent, long-tailed revenue. And once you're in it, you'll never go bankrupt. Like, it's just, you won't, because the government's just throwing cash at you. The question
Steve, is, any thoughts on this, Steve?
Yeah.
Look, you guys know that I've been a very big proponent of Palantir being more embedded with the military, especially with the Jedi contract. Most of the parts of it still up for grabs, I believe.
Yeah.
And their deal with Lockheed Martin is going to be huge. And like Chris said, military industrial complex is a $800 billion a year organization. There's a lot of money for software there, especially software that works and software that other people can't build.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's exciting. It's definitely exciting. Go ahead, Chris.
No, it's just a lot to stuff to digest. I'm probably going to take a second look at the earnings report, probably do a quick deep dive into their final report whenever they release it. And yeah, and like I said, I think this is a turning point. And I think, what's his name? I think, was it Kevin Kawasaki that said it? Like their CFO? This is a turning point. And I truly believe it, because now GAAP profitability is no longer a target. It's a reality. And now it's just, let's build on top of it. You know, that also means that they're going to be operationally very, what's the word? Like,
they don't want to go backwards.
Yeah, they don't want to go backwards. The last thing you want now is to go back and be like, oh yeah, you know what? Last quarter we got profitable. Next quarter we're not. Like they. I mean, if that happens, it's bad. So they're probably going to make sure that wherever they're expensing their dollars, they're not expensing them just freely. You know, they're not going to spend money like drunken sailors, like some of the other SaaS companies did, you know, like over the last like 5 years, where they was just like, oh yeah, we've got cash. Let's throw it on this project. Let's throw it on this one. I think at this point, Palantir has got to the point where now it's just, let's build on top of what we're doing and let's do it nice, consistent, long tail growth going forward.
What'll be interesting to see is the talking heads on CNBC and see if they do an about face or not.
They will. They all do about faces after earnings. Oh, I told you so. Except literally, you can pull up a clip where they were like shitting on them like literally a week ago. So, yeah, I think CNBC and all these other companies, all these funds are probably going to be taking a second look at Palantir now.
Chris, I did not know that Cisco was a partner of Palantir. Did you know that?
I don't know that.
I mean, they were, maybe they're not. It says, thank you to our FoundryCon US 2023 speakers. Recognize pretty much everybody else. Cisco's up here. That makes me interested about cybersecurity.
Not sure.
There's a lot to digest. I'm planning on doing an article on Thursday to come out Friday. I never like doing it directly after earnings because I like to read everything through a couple of times. But this earnings report in this quarter is definitely puts me in a much more bullish mood for the long term than I was. And we need them to sustain net income and continue to grow. And I think really good things are going to happen to people who have a long time horizon. Because Chris said it, I've said this in the past, this could be a resemblance of what Salesforce did over the past decade. Really,
it is. Just FYI, it really still is valued pretty richly. Okay, it's almost a $16 billion market cap right now, or even more. I don't know. I have to double check. One of the real problems is that dilution really does kick in and kick you in the pants, because I got to see what the market cap is now with this $9 per share position. So don't like I said, don't expect this to be a $30 stock overnight. If that happens, that's really bad. That means that you should probably sell, because something that's a little overvalued just became really, really overvalued, in which case you should probably sell.
Quad is $17.5 billion company right now, because they were at 15.5 when the market closed.
Yeah, I agree. And obviously we would want it to get to 30 over time, not just immediately. Last quote from CodeStrap: is there a more advanced application of AI that affects the real world outside of Palantir, from AI targeting to energy production? And I think, there probably isn't, but that's the exciting thing about Palantir, as we've talked about for almost 2 years now, which is they could be everywhere, from targeting to energy production to healthcare. That Cardinal partnership was amazing, and the downstream effects of that we're probably going to see. All these network effects adding up. That is the super, super bull case of what Palantir could be, which theoretically could be way more important than what Salesforce has done for the world. And as a result of that, have more financial implications. But the go-to-market has to be there. They have to be able to grow. They have to maintain margins. They have to maintain GAAP profitability. So there's a long road ahead, but that's the exciting thing. I just don't see any other company in the market you want to bet on to be able to expand the way that Palantir can across every vertical other than Palantir.
There's also one last thing, and then I'll probably head out. if you noticed, because of Palantir's support for Ukraine and also all the other stuff that's a lot more left wing stuff, and even like Carp being in Davos, it kind of shows that now they're like, you know what? Even though these guys are assholes, we're gonna be part. You know, we're going to change up the momentum. Where we're not just saying like we're gonna support one side. So I think they've, in terms of media presence, they've started to become a lot more neutral. And I think a lot of the left wing attacks that literally have been lobbed against them for like the last, I don't know, however many years since the Trump thing came out, I think those voices are starting to die down a little bit. I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but I have. You know,
yeah, I have. I mean, when you're helping Ukraine stop big bad Russia, the leftists are going to like you more.
Yeah, especially right now, because guess what? Biden's working with these guys to do it. Like, if you think that Biden and these guys didn't authorize Palantir to just go and work with them, nah, progressives, when it comes to Ukraine situation, they're all war hawks. They're like, nah, like, we got to do everything we can. It's kind of funny to see the right, which typically is more like in support of military action. They're kind of like, hey, maybe we need to do peace with Russia, where the left is like, Russia till death. We need to kill Russia.